Good morning, sports fans. My name is Ryan Kostrowski, and this is Wisconsin Sports Talk. We got the Bucks taking on the Pelicans tonight, coming off a rough loss at San Antonio. Time to get back into our winning ways. If you checked out the game against San Antonio the other day, it's a tough loss. It looks to me to be a big-time byproduct of the tail end of a back-to-back. We had a weird travel at night. We got into San Antonio at 5 in the morning after a pretty hard-fought game by the Hornets. I know the score ended up being pretty lopsided, but, I mean, Giannis was out there up until about a minute ago. So you got a hot Spurs team who was shooting the ball well. Meanwhile, the Bucks outside of Pat Connaughton were not shooting the ball effectively. And honestly, throughout this entire little bit of downturn, I've seen Malcolm Brogdon have an insane amount of layups go like in and out of the hoop. So sometimes a few things work against you. Tail ends of back-to-back like that against a tough team are rough. It was the same thing that happened to Utah. You can be really competitive, but ultimately come fourth quarter, it's a really difficult spot to play. And no shame in losing that game. The Spurs are a decent team. They got some good players. They are very motivated every game because they need to be with where they sit within the Western Conference. So we'll just chalk it up to a rough loss. And if you look around the league at the other good teams, I mean, the Warriors have been dropping a bunch of games recently. You know, Boston had a great win against San Antonio against Golden State the other day and just got crushed by the Clippers last night. So the Raptors just lost to the Cavs last night. A lot of the teams that are pretty well situated on top of the playoff race hit some rough patches this time of the year. It's just natural for the game of NBA basketball. It's a long season to keep your mental focus this long. Once the playoffs turns around, you'll see that top-tier Bucks defense come play every minute of every game. All right, guys, again, if you're new to the station, this is Wisconsin Sports Talk. We talk Bucks, Packers, and Brewers. Still looking for more people who want to come on just to discuss these things, have a little fun, help me grow this YouTube channel. At first, it is tough to get a YouTube channel off the ground, but you can help me by pressing subscribe or pressing the thumbs up button. Either one is sincerely appreciated. A little bit about me. You guys know this, most of you already. Born and raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin, big-time lover of all things Bucks, Brewers, Packers. I do a lot of things sports related, but it's mostly stat related. I do professional, analysis for daily fantasy sports. Love all three of these sports: NBA, NFL, and MLB. Just want to have some fun and talk about the teams that I really love to watch. And it's an exciting time right now for Milwaukee sports with the Bucks having the best record in the NBA right now. The Brewers, one game away from going to the World Series last year. That season's about to start, and we got a real good shot to be really good again this year. So for once, I can't think of a time like this. I don't know about you guys. I'm 38 years old. In my lifetime, I can't think of another time where the Bucks and Brewers were this good at the same time. There probably hasn't been one. All right, so we're coming off of a loss. We're going to play a team that's pretty much in tank mode right now. The Pelicans will not have Drew Holiday. Excuse me, he's their second best player by a pretty good margin, and he's out. He's injured, not playing tonight. Don't have to worry about him. They're only playing Anthony Davis about 21, 22 minutes per game tops, so you should be able to win this game handedly. Let's hope Milwaukee doesn't take this one for granted like they did against Phoenix, because I will give the Pelicans some credit. Even though they traded Mirotic to our Bucks, they're barely playing Anthony Davis compared to his lofty standards, and Drew Holiday is out. They're out there fighting. Now, they're going to lose some games because the talent discrepancy just isn't there, and I like Julius Randle and Elfrid Payton are decent. But the talent level between them and some other good teams right now is just pretty big. When you're only going to play Anthony Davis for less than half the game, that means the other half of the game, you're out there running with guys like Sheik Diallo. I like him. He's a nice little player, but he is not Anthony Davis, not by a distant margin. I like Frank Jackson, young rookie, but let's face it, he is not Drew Holiday right now. So we should be able to win this one handily. The game's got a big total. It should have a nice pace associated with it. I believe Milwaukee is favored by about 9.5 right now. That makes sense. That seems pretty logical for a game like this. I could see them winning a tight one. I could see them winning by a lot, but I think about the 9.5 makes a lot of sense. So I think one of the best things Milwaukee has going for them right now in this game, besides coming off a loss, and we've only lost off a loss once all year, and it was the last time this happened when we lost to Phoenix. So I just can't imagine the Bucks taking this one lightly, knowing, this just happened last week, and they really played a bad game against Phoenix for the most part, especially late in that one. So I expect a much better effort in this one. And the talent discrepancy should keep Milwaukee in the green right here. We should win this game. What I really want to see, and I'm sure most of you guys who watch them on a nightly basis can get on board with this, I want to see a top-notch defensive performance from beginning to end. Too many lapses in the defense, and I get that our defensive strategy is to clog the lane and force people to make jumpers, but far too many wide-open three-pointers. And this has been an Achilles heel of a Milwaukee defense for years. Now, the defense is a million times better this year with Coach Kidd gone and Coach Budenholzer in there. And I realize that it's part of the strategy. And one of the reasons people tend to struggle against us, and we have the best defensive rating in the NBA, or at least we did up until a couple of games ago, is because we clog the lane and force people to strictly become jump shooters, which overall is a great theme. But we still need to do a little better job of defending that three-point line, because when guys get hot, that's ultimately when things can happen. Not so beneficial for Milwaukee. Now, another added X factor in here, I think you get Niko Mirotic with a nice game today, headed back to New Orleans. Oftentimes, and most of you guys who watch my other YouTube channel, where we talk about the quote-unquote revenge game. Now, there's a lot of people within the DFS world who love these revenge games. They think anytime a player goes back there that it's going to be great for him. And oftentimes, it's just not the case, because a lot of times when people leave with animosity, the other team wants to stop them as well. This isn't that. The New Orleans Pelicans, really, they have no hatred for Nikola Mirotic. His stroke has looked a lot better the last couple of games, so I expect we see him relatively aggressive and effective from the three-point line tonight. So I do think that's an extra added X factor for the Milwaukee Bucks this evening. Who does this game mean more to? This one's easy. Milwaukee's going for that number 1 seed. Good opportunity today to stretch that lead. Toronto, awful game last night by the Raptors, losing by double digits to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'd call it pathetic, but we lost to the Suns last week, so who the hell am I to talk right now? But this game means a lot more to Milwaukee. Honestly, it's better for the Pelicans to lose. You know, any extra ping pong ball you can get in there for the opportunity to tank for Zion is good. Can't sleep on this team, though. They're playing scrappy. And the guys who are out there, and this is something that my business partner and I, when we do daily fantasy sports analysis, talk about all the time. Coaches and management don't mind taking. Actually, you know what? Coaches don't like taking. Management likes to take so they can get the pick. But players want to win. Players do not like to go out there and lose games. So the guys that are out on the floor tonight will be scrappy. They will be playing hard. You know, this is a great opportunity for them to take on the best record in the NBA right now and try to get a win. That feels good for them. Been a rough season, and they want to take out and vent some of their frustrations. So Milwaukee needs to play this team tough. Even though there's a big-time talent discrepancy, we're still on the road. We're still going up against a guy or a team that, you know, still wants to win. Fortunately for Milwaukee, we got 2 days off after this. So that's great from the added factor that you don't really need to try to rest Giannis or Bledsoe or Middleton right here. Come out and play your A game. And I get we're still trying to work Gasol and Nico back into the rotations a little bit. One thing I would tell Coach Budenholzer that I think he is it's the best way to look at this. Get Gasol off the floor when Giannis is out there. And when Giannis is on the floor, that's when I want to see Paul Gasol out there. Or get Gasol off the floor when Giannis is playing. When Giannis is out, that's when I think you can play Powell. Giannis is more effective when Brook Lopez is in there because Brook is more of a stretch 5. And while Gasol is not an awful three-point shooter, he is only going to take them when he's wide open. Lopez really, really makes the other big man go out there. I want to see Giannis, Nico, Brook Lopez, you know, Middleton, and then Bledsoe or Brogdon on the floor together a lot. Spread that floor, baby. Let Giannis get to the rack. And they are really crowding the paint against Giannis this day. So you need 4 3-point shooters on the floor with him at all times. Pretty much everybody on Milwaukee can shoot the 3-ball effectively. Really, Paul Gasol is the only one out there right now who's not going to be able to do that. And it's not that he can't shoot it. It's that he's not really going to be aggressive from 3-point range. So you can leave him more wide open because he's going to be a little bit more hesitant. We know Brook is willing to run and gun out there, man, and that causes a threat. And, you know, you can't not run Eric Bledsoe and Giannis together because they're 2 of your best players. But you need to keep that floor spread for Giannis because they are really crowding the lane against him the last couple of days. What I've watched over the last 5 games or so is Giannis get low-end number of calls, and part of that comes from the fact that he does go to the rim with so much reckless abandon that you just can't call a foul on him every single play. Even though sometimes he deserves it, it's kind of the Shaquille O'Neal factor, and you've seen Russell Westbrook get it to some extent throughout his career where they're just so physically dominant that what are the other opponents supposed to do? And you can't ugly up the point of the game where you call a foul on every single play, even though Giannis, kind of like Shaq, gets fouled almost every single time he has the ball and he's in the lane. I get it, and I feel like the refs are almost trying to test out to see how they should call him moving forward. I'm not saying that there's any kind of great conspiracy theory here, but just trying to figure out how aggressively they should call foul calls on Giannis, because it is tough to referee him, man. I mean, he just goes after everything in the lane like that, and he's so freakishly athletic that, I get that it's a struggle for the black guys in black and white to try to defend him or try to call him. All right, what could New Orleans do to win this game? And I think the number one thing that would hurt us would be if they let Alfred Payton get into the paint. That's where he can be more effective distributing. If we kind of let him do what he wants tonight, he can really kind of put his blueprint on this game. Now, I don't expect that to happen. I think Bledsoe and Brogdon, who are two of the better defenders at the guard positions in the game, will do enough to make his life difficult and not just let him get to the lane and become a big-time distributor. If Anthony Davis is extremely dominant for the 20 minutes that he plays, that could be something that could really help New Orleans to win this game. And AD has been really good when he's been playing. They're just not letting him play more than 20 minutes, which is partly why he's been great, because when you're only out there for 20 minutes, you can really leave it all out on the court. Julius Randle can bully ball them down to the paint. Now, I love what Brook Lopez has added to the team this year, really bringing a little nasty down low. He's been throwing a block party on the regular lately, lots and lots of block shots. He does a lot of good things for our rebounding, and while his rebounding numbers alone aren't great, what he does by pulling the big men away from the floor, boxing out, and allowing Giannis to kind of get a lot of rebounds, guys like that, it's been great for us. So don't let Julius Randle really, really get going and play bully ball down in the paint. And I love Julius Randle, but he looks like maybe the long season's kind of hit him because he has just not been as effective rebounding lately. Don't get beat by Frank Jackson and guys like that shooting threes. That is where the Bucks should be good here, because we already talked about it. Our biggest discrepancy is guarding the three-point line. And guys like Frank Jackson can shoot the three, and Anthony Davis and Elf and guys like that, they can shoot the three, and Julius Randle can shoot the three, but they're not great three-point shooters. These are guys that a lot of times when they take threes, it's because they are wide open. But it's not like you're trying to defend Steph Curry and Klay Thompson tonight. So this game does match up pretty well in favor of Milwaukee. Also, just kind of bringing up a point with Giannis is the fact that it's a good spot for him to show off against a guy who was a potential MVP candidate earlier this year before he really got his minutes taken away. So who ends up winning this game? I think the Bucks will win this one. Again, we're coming off of a rough loss. I really just want to see more consistent defense and shooting. The shooting has been really erratic. Now, that could be a byproduct of some of the back-to-backs, like against Utah and against San Antonio. I understand how that happens, but Middleton's had too many games where he's been off. I think Brook Lopez, when he is on, that is a top X factor for the Bucks going into the playoffs this year. Because when Brook Lopez is hitting threes, they could arguably be the best team in the league at that point. When we're not making our outside shots, the fact that our superstar is not a great outside shooter yet it can be an issue. And they are really crowding the lane against him lately. I mean, when you see when Giannis gets the ball, everybody just goes down to the paint and they make him become a passer. Now, if we're hitting three-point shots, it's going to be deadly out there, man. So we need Brook Lopez, Middleton, Brogdon to get back on track. The three-point shooting has not been very consistent lately. Last game, it was poor with the exception of Pat Connaughton. We need to get back out there and shoot more consistently, and no defensive lapses. When you get up 15, do what you were doing earlier in the year and put your foot on the gas. Let's wrap this game up early so we can get some guys some rest instead of making it become a game again. Next up, I like the idea of Nikola Mirotic having a solid game tonight. His former teammates don't have animosity towards him. They like what he brought here, but they understand that it was a business move and things like that. So I think Nikola Mirotic ends up having a nice, solid game tonight, which brings us into our last point, which is going to be daily fantasy sports plays. Now, for those of you guys who haven't seen it yet, if you play DraftKings or FanDuel, you can go check out my other channel, DFS 5-Pack. That one's significantly bigger, but I've been doing that one for 5 years, whereas this one is brand new. Who do I like in this game tonight? Surprisingly, given the fact that there is a big-time total and the highest total on the board tonight, the specific plays of this game are not over the top great. I do like Nikola Mirotic, especially in GPP forms. He is a little bit up and down, but I expect him to have a solid game today. But outside of that, not a lot of other guys are priced at a point where I want to go there. And Milwaukee has the added issue with their guys these days that they're not playing any one specific dude very, very heavy minutes. So they're trying to get rested up for the playoffs. And if they can get out and, put their stamp on this game early, guys like Giannis might only play 28, 29 minutes. I'm sure he'll be effective in his time on the court. But given the fact that his price tag is way up there today, I don't really love anybody from the Bucks today. And the guys in the Pelicans who have been playing well lately now have their prices up there. Like Frank Jackson's been excellent the last couple of games with no Drew Holiday, but now he's 5K and not 3K anymore. So I don't think he's a bad play, but he isn't anywhere close to the must that he has been the last couple of games. So for a game with a total well into the 230s, it is not as appealing from a DFS standpoint as some other games like this. Like last night, Washington and Sacramento had a total a few points higher, and it was gold from a DFS perspective. But this game, not as much. Kind of shocking there isn't as many good plays. I could see Pat Connaughton with a nice play. I don't really like Alfred Payton as much in this game. The Bucks have been great at defending point guards all year long. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier with how Bledsoe and Brogdon are two of the better defenders of guards there are out there. So I'm not loving this game from a DFS perspective, which is it sounds silly because the total is, I think, 7 or 8 points higher than any other game on the docket tonight. But it is what it is. Sometimes DraftKings does a really good job of pricing their guys out so that just because the teams or the game has a big total and should be really good with a nice fast pace, which is great for DFS points, doesn't always translate to those guys specifically being in money spots as far as what their salary is concerned. So that's what I got for today, guys. Go Bucks. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The thumbs up is appreciated, and we'll see you guys later. I want to try to get out some Packer free agency information today as well.